the provincial election campaign is only in day 2, and the parties are already at each other's throats. And the biggest sparks flying tonight surrounding safe injection and safe inhalation sites. 2 of the major party leaders are on the Lower Mainland today. Conservative leader John Rustad starting in Richmond today. He stated he would eliminate safe injection sites in our province and call them, after calling them, drug dens and dangerous.
And these drugs are dangerous. They are destroying lives. The number of people that are dying on a daily basis is unacceptable in this province. We need to take a different path.
Rustad saying he would replace the sites with mental health and treatment centres. NDP leader David Eby in Langley this afternoon, quick to respond, saying the Conservatives are playing politics with people's lives.
We can't play politics with this. This is a serious issue, and it's a hard issue. It's not an easy issue. We've lost so many people. We've lost brothers and sisters and children, and it's awful. And so every possible step we can take to keep people alive, get them into treatment, we need to do it.
There has been reaction around the province tonight since these comments have been made, and it's starting to set the tone early for what voters will be facing in the weeks ahead. We are going to have more reaction in just a moment, but first let's bring in our political correspondent Rob Shaw, who's joining us now from Vancouver live. Rob, you spent the day with both campaigns talking to both Rustad and Eby. Is this the beginning of both parties showing the stark differences in how they would tackle the current drug and treatment crisis in our province?
Well, it is, but in many ways, this is the culmination of the Conservative drug policies. John Rustad has been hinting at this for months. He's been talking about dramatic change to the NDP's drug policies, things like curtailing safe supply, things like going after those vending machines that dispense crack pipes in front of Nanaimo Regional General Hospital, promising to end decriminalization, which the NDP has brought in and partially recriminalized, promising to fire Dr. Henry for her proposal to sell drugs, regulate and sell drugs through the government, and even just the promise to stop further inhalation sites, which are now being built in places like Vancouver. So in a lot of ways, this is just the continuation, the bow on the package of Conservative drug policies. Now, it is diametrically opposed to a lot of what the BC NDP is saying. The Green Party out today saying John Rustad should be ashamed of himself for suggesting this, that people will die because of this, but it fits in with what the Conservatives have identified as a weak point in the NDP strategy right now, a weak point in public fatigue over street disorder, in permissive drug policies, the decriminalization debate, and that is why the Conservatives have gone hard on this. They have a rally in Surrey tonight. This will be an issue that John Rustad talks about, Scott, and definitely a continuation of what we have seen him say on his drug policies. Scott?
It's interesting because I know, as you mentioned, the Greens were, Sonia Furstenau was campaigning in Victoria today, the NDP and the Tories in the Lower Mainland right now. And David Eby earlier today was talking about housing, and that was sort of a topic earlier this morning. And then things shift, and this becomes the headline because of what Rustad is saying. Is it, it's early days, but is this where the NDP or the Greens are seeing that they're kind of behind the Conservatives in terms of the narrative of going into this campaign if they're always having to react to the Conservatives' viewpoints?
Well, the NDP would love to have spent today talking about housing. They designed their entire day to go to Langley and the North Shore and other places where, not only were there transit density policies becoming reality in new housing, but also saving rental buildings and all of the kind of housing policy that David Eby has announced before, showing it in action. But the Conservatives took that agenda away with this announcement today. The Greens left just to try to respond to these things. So it's another example, I think, of how the Conservatives seem to be driving the offensive in this campaign so far. The NDP's entire strategy today derailed by this, and not talking housing. Here we are talking drug policy once again. So, Scott, that is the first couple of days of the election in a nutshell. The Conservatives really setting the agenda here, and the NDP struggling to kind of follow.
Yeah, and there'll be more fallout tomorrow and more coverage, I'm sure, and you'll be sticking with the campaign throughout. Always appreciate your time. Thanks so much, Rob. We'll continue this coverage as the latest sparring of ideas and words, also drawing reaction from those on the ground advocating for safe consumption sites. With more, let's bring in Mackenzie Reid, who spoke with a harm reduction and recovery expert tonight. Mackenzie.
Yes, Scott, the comments from John Rustad about closing the safe injection and inhalation sites is drawing negative reaction from those in the harm reduction community. While they say more mental health and addiction treatment centers are needed, closing the safe and supervised consumption sites is not the right answer. According to harm reduction and recovery expert Guy Felicella, the supervised consumption sites save lives by giving people a safe place to go that is supervised. He says by taking these facilities away, there will be more people using alone, which will lead to more overdose deaths. There will be more public consumption and more stress on the healthcare system. He adds that safe injection and inhalation sites also serve as a vital first step for many people's recovery journey.
One of the things that nobody talks about, or not often talked about, is his connection to healthcare services, detox, treatment, recovery. I mean, those supervised consumption sites, that one in the downtown east that I used, they were giving me Greyhound bus tickets to go to Kelowna to go to treatment, taxi vouchers to go to Surrey to recovery houses, getting me access to the detox services upstairs. I mean, harm reduction is really a bridge for people to access recovery services.
And while Felicella admits that there is work that needs to be done to improve the consumption sites, he does believe that taking them away will ultimately be detrimental to those who use them.
All right, thanks so much, Mackenzie. As we continue our coverage on the election leading up to October 19th, for more information on all the candidates in your riding here on the island, our web team has broken down each riding and small bios of the candidates with details on advanced polling, online and phone voter registration. You can head to checknews.ca for more of that information.